X-Pac 12360. Featuring weekly news, insider commentary, and interviews with superstars, past and present from the world of pro wrestling.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your host, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Joining us in studio now, a man who found success first as a manager, going on to score tag team titles with partners from the likes of Kevin Nash to Jay Leno. The Attitude Era saw him as an NWO foe, and he has most currently helped over 50 wrestlers and a ton of other folks find their zen as the mastermind behind DDP Yoga. Please welcome to the show the hardest working man in pro wrestling, Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yay!
I appreciate it.
And that is a fact about the hardest working man part.
That was a great journey, man. That was a great journey.
And I like to, when we're talking about both companies, I like to refer to it as the Monday Night Wars era.
Oh, dude, the best ever.
Yeah, because like the Attitude Era kind of just makes you think of WWE.
Yeah, it wasn't.
There was so much more.
Especially
than
when
that.
we were kicking their ass.
Yes.
You know, so you got to take it to the Monday Night Wars, and they're sort of skewed a little bit, you know, off of WWE. I mean, not the WCW.
Pretty honest, considering like the winner writes the history, right?
No, dude, no, absolutely. And I've always said that the winner writes the history, so I get that. And I'm just so glad that these kids today, like I have kids all the time come up to me, they're 8, 9 years old. Dude, you're my favorite wrestler. I'm thinking, you got the network, right?
Right. It's mind-blowing, man. I'll take it, though.
Hell yeah. You know, it reminds me of the 80s when the 80s music came back and it had all that. It was really like in 2000, I think that happened. All of a sudden, you know, the 80s became like the 50s music was for us growing up, you know?
And then the music we grew up on ends up being the music that you listen to in the elevator or in the department store, right?
Or commercials.
Yeah.
But we had the greatest music ever, man. You know, because you didn't have to be pretty to be able to play music.
No doubt.
I love that. Well, I know you want to get started by talking about DDP Yoga because you have some fun new things that you guys are up to. Let's jump right into it.
Well, you know, one thing it's about DDP Yoga, but it's not. It's a brand new app that we came up with, and it's called the DDP Video Wake Up Alarm Clock. Now, I know The Rock, he beat me to the alarm clock, which I couldn't believe that. I'm building it for 2 years.
Parallel thinking.
Yeah, but great. And if I can do anything that's anything like The Rock, who I am the biggest fan of on the planet, because we know biggest star in the world right now,
absolutely,
The Rock, and he's one of us. Yes. So I'm really, really, really proud of him on a lot of different levels. And when he came out with the alarm clock, I was saying, please. He didn't do a video one, though, did he? Because that had never been done. Everybody's done an alarm clock at one point or another. They have some kind of alarm clock. He made it cool. But what we did, we made it inspiring and funny, some of them. Like I saved one right here, which is one of our, this would be in a version of one of the funnier ones that we did. If you can pop that up there.
Who is this?
This is actually, you'll see.
Okay.
Pop it up. Can we get that to play?
Red button, right?
Woo! Woo! It's Jake. Wow! Wow!
Wow, this is awesome.
Yo, monkey, get out of bed. It's gonna be a great day. I thought we were going to see. I thought we were
ready to do this day now.
I thought we were going to see something completely different. I didn't realize he was sending me the trailer to it. My buddy Steve Yu, but you can see there's a bunch. That's a compilation.
Compilation of different wake up
of a bunch of them.
Yeah, well, explain to our podcast listeners who can't see the video what we saw.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot. With some parts video, some parts not. The video that we just saw was Wade Keller. You've known him. You've known him since you were a kid.
All my life. Yeah.
I've known him since I was 8. Since I was first broke into business. I was 31 as a manager, and I was doing one of his podcasts, and I said, "So how are you doing with the program?" He goes, "Dude, I love it. It's real. I feel so much better." He goes, "I just wish," and this is like 4 years ago. He says this to me. "I just wish you could call me up every morning and wake me up and say, 'Yo, monkey, get on the mat.'" And I hung up the phone thinking, video wake up alarm clock. So, every dream you've ever had, it starts in your brain. And this right here, we've got a lot of inspirational stuff on there too. I've got a lot of great quotes, like right on the front page and anybody, it's free. The video.
That's great.
Yeah, if they go online right now and just download it on their iPhone or their Droid or whatever. I built it on all 4 platforms. I built it on the iPhone, the iPad, the Droid, and the tablet, which means it costs 4 times more than it normally would for one, but it's worth it for me to have it on everything. And it's not just about DDP Yoga. Am I wearing the DDP Yoga shirt? Absolutely. Are there things that are references to DDP Yoga in it? But it's really for anybody that use to get up in the morning. Like on the front page, there's 2 different pages you can see. One that has this really cool, almost like very industrial type look, and the bricks are broken out. If you look through the bricks, you'll see the wheels turning, and you'll see sparks going in there. And it also has mood things, like if you want to sleep, it's got the ocean. It's got the thunder and rain. It's got streams. We've got those things, but it's also got the inspire button. Like some people, inspire me, and it might be I might have a quote that comes from Einstein. Einstein once said, "It's not that I'm so smart. It's just I stick with the problem longer." Things like that make you think. And I might throw that into, today's your video, today's your inspirational quote of the day to wake up to. And I might use something like that, or something from Ali, or something from Henry Ford. And then I'll tell a story about it to get you up again. Like under 2 minutes to get you up. And if you're not out of bed yet, boom, it'll play again. And other times it's me knocking on your window, like of your phone. "Yo, monkey, cupcake, get out of bed, don't make me come in there." And there's one video where you're gonna feel I'm actually coming into your room. So hit the workout button.
Kind of like when you have to run over to Scott's house and knock on the door. "Hey, monkey."
Come on, dude. Come on, answer the door.
I know you're in there.
You've really done that, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, more than once.
But I tell you, I'm so proud of him right now. He's doing so great, and we'll probably get into it a bit later. But I don't even know if he'd even still be here if it wasn't for kid over there getting caught up through Twitter of all things.
Yeah, Twitter DM.
You DM'd me on Twitter, and might as well just go right to that. Let's talk about that for a second. I don't really pay attention to my DM too much. I didn't even know what it was, but I just happened to be learning more about Twitter. This is almost 4 years ago, right?
Around that. Maybe even like 5.
No,
because
I think it was August of 2011.
I was still in Florida at the time, and honestly, and Dally, I had my own stuff going on. I hadn't gotten myself nearly close to being right yet, but I was doing better than Scott. But when you're messed up, you really have no business trying to save others.
Right.
And I just knew he was going to die. There's no question about it. Dally, he was going to die, and I didn't know what to do, man. And and I knew what was going on with you and Jake, and I knew that you and Scott were tight, and that was kind of like my last hope.
Yeah, paraphrasing, of course, but it was something along the line of.
He's talking about getting a gun
and going to kill himself.
Yeah,
and I believe him this time.
Yes.
And literally, I'm in my living room. Well, actually, my living room's here. My kitchen's right here. Jake's there. Steve Hughes, director of the film, he's standing there, and I said. He walked up to me filming because we had film going all the time, and I'm just talking to Steve about it, and I said, I've called him 20 times over the last 10 years. Never returned my phone call, never picked up the phone. So literally, I don't know, as Jake's walking by me, I go, "Jake, you want to get in this?" I don't even expect him to pick up the phone.
Right.
And then he does. And that message, we captured all of that. And I didn't know if we were ever going to use it because I would never have used it if he didn't come.
Right.
If he didn't come, then I would, left it out. But he did, eventually come. But it took from that phone call, what, and
Yeah,
he don't
and that's how
remember
he always answered the phone was just that barely alive. What? Yeah. But then when he figured out it was you could actually hear him perk up a little bit.
Dally. He gets
and then
so
Jake chimed in and he told Jake, "I'm dying, Jake."
Yeah, one of the things that I know in my career, what's really crazy is that when Scott came back from Germany that one year, I was in WCW as a manager at the time, and Scott had come back from Germany, and WWE wouldn't return his phone call. He'd already been in WCW twice, so they weren't returning his phone call. So he came through me, and I had an idea for the Diamond Stud. We all know what Scott, a lot of the fans don't know that Scott Hall used to have big, blonde, fluffy hair.
The
and
big old bushy mustache.
Yeah, that was his look. And I knew that I couldn't bring him in like that. And, I asked if he'd be willing to dye his hair and change his gimmick. His wife was pregnant with Cody at the time.
Yeah.
That's how long ago that was. And, I put it all together. He got to my house and his hair was he didn't dye it. He had put some coloring in. So it was mousy brown. And I go, that's not going to cut it. So I took a little girl and blonded my hair out, and we blacked his hair out, and I'm like, dude, you got to. I told him earlier because he always says Rob Lowe, but it was actually I was watching MTV the night before he's going to come up. Yeah. I've got him to try out. He's got to drive up from Florida though, 8-hour drive. They're not flying him in this time, and. I'm watching this video, and George Michael, remember how hot he was at the time? He was red hot in the 80s.
And he had the 5 o'clock shadow deal,
and no one had that. No, there was no John Hamm. There was nobody who had that. Dick Tracy, I think, had it in the comics. But he had that look going, and I just picked up the phone the way I'll do it. Oh, it was 2 in, but I'm calling him, Scotty. Allie, what? My wife's sleeping. You can't call me like this. I'm like, dude, hey, God, all right, I'm sorry. You got to shave the mustache. And it completely stopped him in his track. Because when he had that mustache, he was 11. He's a hairy son of a bitch, and he's like, I go, you got to shave the mustache. He goes, Allie, I've had this mustache forever. I go, that's the point. You got to grow the shadow. Scott if he shaves at 8 in, he's got the shadow by 2, not 5. True. He's got it by 2. And when he got there and I saw that look with that, that jawline, he looked like Superman.
And Scott tells a story about him coming in the locker room and guys he'd known for years had no idea who the hell he even was.
Yeah, and that was really cool.
Wow.
It freaked them out. Imagine being yourself, and now you're walking among people you grew up with, and no one, literally, you saw them last 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
So he says to me, he goes, Tommy Rich has to remember me. Now he's sitting here in front of me, and Tommy's behind him. And he goes, say, hey, Tommy, you remember Diamond Stud, right? Hey, Tommy, you remember Diamond Stud, right? And, Tommy's eating. He looks up yeah, hey, Stud. And Scott did the slow turnaround. He goes, you don't remember me. And he got scared. He got scared. And then he went,
you don't know me.
Scotty? And he was so relieved when he found out it was him. And he was off and running to the races there. But where we ended up in this spot, coming into WCW, that's what gave Razor Ramon the look, to end up becoming a juggernaut. And so I had helped him there. And then when he came in WCW, that whole thing with the NWO, you were there. When I got to drop those guys, if Scott didn't agree to it, and it was my idea, because no one else was coming up with that idea for me. So I always
you
felt
did have to everything you got it was
teeth.
Yeah, you were pulling teeth.
I was, man, and because you were there.
I do know.
And, but I never forgot that. you know, and we talked about it in the Resurrection, Jake the Snake. I'll never forget the people who helped me.
And the thing is like, okay, somebody could say, well, they could have done that with anybody, whoever the first guy would have got to them would have been. No, nobody else would have worked except you.
Yeah, really.
No one else would have worked except you in that situation.
It was God's way of paying me back, you know.
Right on.
And you remember how pissed off I was that night.
Oh yeah.
Because what had happened was, it was supposed to be 12 minutes for the match and the angle. By the time I get there, it's 10. By the time I start stretching out, it's 8. By the time I get to the curtain, it's 4 minutes,
including
for everything.
entrances.
Everything. I was cursing so much, Kev. And Kev just looked at me and goes, Dally, what do you always say to me? I go, I don't know. What the beep, beep, beep do I say to you? He's like, breathe. He said, it's live.
Yeah, you're going to go as long as you need to go.
Right.
Let somebody else
stop us?
Contract or expand.
And I went out there, and a bank shot diamond cutter was something I'd throw you in the turnbuckle, and I'd hit the rope, bounce off the rope, and catch you perfectly. Usually all you got to do is be leaning. Mark Starr had done it with me before. I don't know how, but he hit that turnbuckle, staggered out perfectly, and then he dove face forward. I'm going, what the hell is he doing? So I dove at him like maybe 1.5 feet from the mat and caught him, and the place exploded. But it wasn't the one I wanted. So, you know, if you ever watch me turn him over, I am fuming.
Oh, you sound like me.
So mad.
If it just doesn't go just how you are, oh, God, I get like that too.
God,
Whatever.
So bad. And they came in and we did the angle, and Scott took perfect diamond cutter. Kev went over the top. And you want to talk about God looking out for somebody? If you ever see that in slow motion, watch Kev go over the top. He wanted to go through the table, but he went out too far, so he didn't go through it. So he grabs it and like pulls it to create motion.
Right.
But the edge of that table, the things the table stands on, are flying at a person who is right on the other side of the railing. Like, thank God those railings are there. It hits there, completely misses the person, but it literally like right in their face. And the thing goes down. Like, he could have like killed somebody doing that. You know, things like that happen all the time, right? God just shines on us, and we're lucky. And I took off through the crowd. I was so mad. I went through the back, grabbed all my stuff, went to the bar, and just started drinking. And I'm thinking, all right, I got to see it. I got to see that diamond cutter. How bad did it look?
You didn't know
at
the time that you just blew the roof off the place and life had just changed for you forever?
I didn't know what, guys, I was
We
truthful.
did.
I didn't appreciate it because I was so mad because I wanted it to be perfect. I worked so long for it to get to that spot that I have to go back and see it. That's why I filmed everything I ever did, because you're too critical of yourself. You've got to see it. So I see the diamond cutter.
Yeah.
I go, okay, I can live with that. You know what I mean? The place went crazy. Oh my God, it's popped. Now, if Stone Cold Steve Austin does something to Vince McMahon at the 9 o'clock hour, how many times would we have seen that between then and closing out the show? How many times?
Half a dozen times.
Minimum, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
How many times they play it for me?
None.
0. I was so. That's where the drinking really got heavy. And of all times, that was the night Scott Hall would have taken care of me.
Because, I mean, Dally, you had I always remember you'd have a beer or two here and there, but I never recollected seeing you drunk.
I've been drunk a few times.
Oh, I know, but I mean, not like you were that night.
Remember when, I don't know if were you there when I was screwing with the Ghostbuster with
yes, that was
Dan
the night I
Aykroyd.
punched. That was the same night I punched Brian Knobs, and you and Scott Norton got in the middle of it and broke it up.
God, I don't remember any of
More
that.
details, please.
Oh yeah, let's hear
Oh, we were
about
in the House of Blues.
I remember that part.
Yeah, and Scott's in front of me, and Scott's just tanked, and that incident happened with Jerry Saggs and them guys hitting Scott.
Right.
And that already happened.
That was earlier in the tour.
Earlier in the
Yeah,
tour,
earlier
but
in
it
the
kind of
tour,
died
yeah.
down because Scott, you know how Scott is. Usually
right.
just blew it off. But we're walking through there, and Brian had already been like being the little bullies. I love Brian.
I love him too, but he
When he
stir up some
yeah,
stuff.
and I saw him in there, and he, because Hogan was up on stage playing the bass.
Right. What a crazy time we had.
Right,
Man.
and so I'm like, and Scott's ahead of me, and I'm right here, and I see Knobs, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to, like, let me see if I can skate through here without Knob seeing me. So just as I think I made it through, all of a sudden I feel somebody grab me by the back of the hair, yank my hair. My neck was already messed up. And just paintbrush slapped me about 3-4 times across the back of the head. And I had already told myself, if he messes with me again in front of the boys, I'm knocking him out. And I just turned around and went, bam! And he went up against the bar. And Jerry didn't know, and I have no problem with Jerry over this. He didn't know what was up, and that's his boy. He looked over at me and he went, boom! And he punched me in the nose. And then here you and Scott Norton were, break it up, God damn it! You guys are the boys.
Bad dude.
I was in blackout mode by the time that
And
happened.
I went in, I wiped my nose off, I came back out, and I did a shot with those guys.
Yeah, of course.
And I said, quit
of
being such
course.
a dick, Brian.
Knobs called me yesterday, so I owe him a phone call. But it was a great time, and it's all.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were talking about Dan Aykroyd.
Oh yeah, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd. It was crazy too, right? Because he was walking around in like a police costume.
Right, it was like undercover.
I wasn't that mad. Like I wasn't doing like only thing
You're sure you
I
didn't
wasn't even
imagine
drinking back then, so like I know that, like I wasn't imagining that, right? He was trying to keep
he was like, hey, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, you're
what you gonna do? And I was
Yeah.
screwing with
from across the street.
Scott's like, he said, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Sign my dollar, Ghostbuster. He actually signed my dollar too, which I lost, of course, but I remember that part.
I wonder what the deal was. I wonder if he was really patrolling. Was he a citizen on patrol that night?
I just think he was trying to maybe be undercover and walk around his place,
I don't think it worked.
No, it didn't. Not with us there. But it was, back to Scotty, and that's why when you sent me that message, and I had so many people, writing on YouTube because they'd watch all the stuff with Jake, over that period, like, man, you're doing so good with Jake. Could you please help Scott? I mean, like
Before I even got to you.
Dozens of times. So I just took it as like, he's never going to do it anyway, but let me just reach out. And then when we started talking to him, you could hear in his voice, because what's on the film, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, is only like maybe 2.5 minutes. It was a 12-minute conversation. And there you really heard like hope come into Scott's voice. And what I was really happy about, because a lot of people say, so when are you going to do Scott's movie? It's like, we don't have to, because he was in that one, and then his On the Razor's Edge, the WWE version, that sort of brought that all around full circle for him.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done.
And Dally, it could if the documentary was scripted, it couldn't have been scripted any better. The ending, how everything turned out, the happy ending.
If we would have tried to script that,
come on, man,
no one would believe it.
I'm getting goosebumps on my goosebumps right now, dude.
And I'll tell you one thing. This is my favorite line Jake said to me. After that, we were getting something out of the refrigerator, and I looked at Jake, and I said, Jake, can you imagine if you and Scott got sober in the same house in the same year? And he just sort of shook his head and went, phew, I'll start getting your crown of thorns ready right now.
Did you bring
Only Jake can say that, right?
Did you bring it with you?
The crown of thorns?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just like, those two, there was a lot of this with them too in the house.
Oh,
too,
yeah, no. Yeah, I was aware of that.
Yeah, no ego in that house.
Right.
Me, Jake, Scott. But it was a really great time to watch, them go through that, really through the resurrection.
It was also a very frustrating time for you at times that you could tell in the movie. And I can tell by talking to you at times.
Yeah, it was trying at times. Scott, not so bad. Scott's more came after, and I understood that because Scott hadn't gone through the falls like Jake did. He was freaking like the best you could be.
And he snaps back so quick. Like, once you get him going back in the right path, he can go from bloated Elvis to looking like old Scott again in like a month.
I've never seen anybody
And Perfect
like
Vitals.
That. Look, like scary death horror.
Right.
Like, But again, he is very disciplined with what he eats, and that's the first thing when I brought the guys into my home, or when I'm working with anybody. The first thing I do is get you eating real food, because real food will heal your body, and I mean what God created, not genetically modified garbage. I'm talking about real food, and when you start to feel better, then you're more apt to work out, and you're not as hurting. So, with DDP Yoga in them and doing the workout, they also are, along with Arthur Borman, the disabled vet, the inspiration for it was called Chair Master, but I just found out I can't call it that, but where I teach people who are morbidly obese. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds of pounds overweight. Elderly people, 50s, 60s up. I'm 60, so I'm elderly.
Which means you're probably 68.
No, I'm 60.
No, I'm just kidding.
I love my age. I embrace
phenomenal, actually.
I
look better
embrace
than me.
it. Thank you. But people who are really beat up and disabled vets. So you literally start some of the workouts in the chair. And I'm about to put up Zach Gowen. Zach is doing amazing.
I read that. You certified him. He's the first.
You have to do it, man. It takes like 4 months to get certified.
And that guy's got, he lost was like above the knee.
Yes, it's way up there.
Yeah.
Way up there. So
he's the first amputee to become certified with
First
DDP?
amputee.
Wow,
and
that's
I have
awesome.
a series, like there's 3 workouts there's 2 of them I have him actually call, because it's him doing the workout. And when you don't have another leg, you have to have someone up there with you who does. Well, the other guy is a disabled vet who's lost 4 of his fingers. His name is Stephen Wright, and he also is from the knee down a amputee, and he's starting to study for his certification right now too. But he's a really cool dude. I know you've had to run into him. He's got dreads, black dude, really cool dude. I'm sure you ran into him somewhere, and they're both doing the workouts, and Zach's calling it. He's a superstar, man. Like, he has so much charisma. He calls the workouts, and they use the chair a lot. Not so much in the beginning as it goes on. They use the chair where needed. I do 2 of those workouts. Then I do a workout that I lead with those 2 behind me. That's like you got to be like intermediate to advanced.
Do you guys call it in the ring, or do you have a structured workout?
100% call it. For me, call it in the ring.
100%. I don't know. Maybe some people don't understand what we're talking about here, but
right.
Well, this is a wrestling themed show, so you should understand. Call it in the ring.
Well, if people I like to lay everything out, especially in wrestling, and then go out there and use improvisation with the monster preparation. But for when it comes to my workout, like Chris Jericho and I were going to work out one day in the park back when I lived in LA about 5 years ago, and he's like, we're walking there, and he's saying, so what do you do? Do you do energy one day? Do you do fat burn the next? Strength builder? I go, Chris, I don't even know what's on those DVDs. Because once I did it, it's done. And I'm always like, that's what's so cool about DDP Yoga now, the app, is that there's so many live workouts on there. And some of them are 20 minutes, some are 30, some are 40. Most of them are an hour, because they're really geared for intermediate to advanced. But if you're a beginner, you can do it, because I've got 7 cameras going at all times. I've got a wide shot from the back. I've got a close-up. I've got a 16-foot jib. I've got.
Oh, you have a jib?
I have a jib.
Wow.
In my production studio, man.
That's pretty serious.
When Austin walked in my place, his jaw dropped. And any of the boys who come through, their jaw drops. They're like, wow, because it's not just. Austin was expecting a 1,500 square foot soundstage, but the soundstage part is just one piece of it. I got 6,300 square feet of corporate offices, and we have 6 edit bays. We've got a TriCaster, so we can go live with 7 cameras anytime we want.
Wow, that's incredible.
Actually 8. And then I've got 2 GoPros up front when I'm down on them doing some of all the stuff on my knees or straight any kind of lunge or whatever. I'm talking right to you on these. Then I have another GoPro on a modifier. So there's always someone modifying the position. Then there's a camera from behind me that goes into the crowd so you can see the energy of the room. And it's really interactive, because people who think it's yoga, it's not yoga. It's my version of what people need from yoga, rehab, calisthenics, exercise.
But I remember at one point when you got into yoga, and I'd be standing there, I'd be watching you standing in the hallway with one foot over your head, balancing, and I'm just like, how in the hell? I can never do that, ever.
If you say you can or you say you can't,
I'm
you're
talking
right.
about right at the moment.
There you go. Yet. In other words, yet. Because you put that yet, it makes it possible.
So, but obviously you modified it, and you figured out what worked best for you.
Yeah, and everybody else too.
And there's also some dynamic tension, isometric type
exactly,
stuff.
a lot of engaging muscles, just like lifting weights. So if you're in a lunge or in a warrior position, you have to be engaging. You just have to. If you're standing up, you have to be engaging. When you go to curl weights, you're not just using your biceps. You're using your fingers, your hands, your forearms, your shoulders. You're using your legs. You're using your core. You're using everything. So I incorporate that stuff into it with no weights. Again, jacks your heart rate up. It all comes back to rehabbing my body. And what worked for me, I found works for just about everybody. And one of the things, maybe we can go to that one video, because I want to, can you pull up that one video that might have said fat burner on it? Just to see,
I think it's
this is it.
how other fitness programs use fitness models to be in their workouts with them. You see, here at DDP Yoga, we don't have that philosophy. We actually like to have the people be in the workouts who got results with the program. Like these people here. Except they don't look like that anymore.
Wow.
Pretty amazing, huh? Now you gotta ask yourself, what could you do? All right, guys, everybody huddle up.
Everybody just metamorphosized from their before weight to their after weight in front of our eyes for the people at home that
They're
are
like less
listening.
than half their original size.
The girl in the front is becoming an instructor for me. Her name is Christina. She lost 65 pounds and she's 6'1". The guy behind her he still has lose about another 50 pounds, but he's down 140 pounds. The girl across from him, his wife, is down 80 pounds, and the guy in front lost 313
Amazing.
pounds in 17 and a half months.
Absolutely amazing.
Now, understand, this was never a weight loss program.
It's like a person.
Yeah, like
a couple
big person, 313 pounds.
Insane.
So it goes to show you with diet, workout.
The cool thing about that video right there and what you were saying is, I sit and I watch some of these infomercials, and I'm not going to name names of any of them, but I'm looking at the people, the models they're using, and I'm like, these people are not. That's not. I mean, this is so misleading. That's not what happens.
Well, here's what
because you know as well as I do, Dally, like. Those people, I mean, first of all, they're not drug tested.
There's no wellness policy.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you don't know how they got those results.
I'm gonna tell you a secret I found out. I won't name her name because you would get heat for this.
Sure.
But one of the girls who has like those food things where they feed you X amount of meals to help you lose weight.
Yeah.
She let me know that 90. Some of these companies, and we're going to say who, they will go into LA or New York and they will audition 1,000 people to find that 90 people, and then feed them for those 90 days, and they do the workout. What are those people going to look like in LA and New York? They're going to be a lot of models and actors and blah, 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 who need to lose 20, 30 pounds or whatever, that really want to be on whatever. I mean, it's like, to me, every person that you see that goes from, like 99% of them, I never knew, I've never seen. I was on Twitter, I don't know, about last week, and I saw this guy put up a post, down 100 pounds in 10 months, and he looked great. He said, he put this post up at 12:34 at night. Well, it's like 12:38. So I DM them, because anybody who follows my program and does it, I follow them. Because that's how I do that. Some of my friends, but most of it's people in my program, because I want to be able to see what they're doing. And I texted him, DM'd him and said, send me your number. He sent me his number, like almost immediately. So I called him at 1:45 in the morning.
Of course you did.
Yeah, of course I did. I said, hey, dude, what's up? It's DDP. He said, are you serious? Are you really calling me? I go, dude, I do it all the time. But I have to see, I'm not going to take someone's word for it. You know, they have to really put the work in. And if they put the work in, and like, we do autograph sessions all the time.
All the time.
And today I get people from, from obviously the wrestling. I get people from, DDP Yoga. I get people from Resurrection and Jake the Snake. Now, a lot of the Resurrection people, they've never done DDP Yoga. They know a little bit about it, but they don't really know. And some of them are pretty big. Yeah. And I bet you I've given out in the last 2 months my email at least 12 times out to people who I say, listen, if you want my help and you're willing to put the work in, I'll send you what I call the list. And the list educates you. The list, first of all, you have to take these pictures. Like on the app, the DDP Yoga Now app, we've got a tracking section. Take 6 pictures. Now, they're not for being fat and skinny. It's about your physiology, your flexibility, and your core strength. Because I know month to month, that's going to change. And if you take the pictures day one and you forget for 2 or 3 months, or you do it in the 30 days, you're going to see a difference, which is going to motivate you. You also got to take the measurements. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to see you losing inches. Next one's pain. What's your shoulder, neck, hip, back, knees? Because so many people come to me, bad knee pain, bad back pain. Guess what? If you put the work in, gonna go away. All right, or it's definitely going to be way cut back. Then I've got blood pressure, blood sugar, and diabetes. You got to do all of this. If you're over like a couple of 100 pounds overweight, you got to do all that. Then you have to listen to my Own Your Life audiobook, which I'm going to give to you. You got to watch my Living Life at 90% lecture, which I'm going to give to you. I'm going to show you how to get and watch, if you have Netflix, how to watch Food Inc., Genetic Roulette, GMO, OMG, and Resurrection Jake the Snake. When you finish all of that, send me an email back and I'll call you and I'll tell you where we go from there. And I will literally talk to that person every month or more to get them on the right track. If they keep putting the work in, I'll be with them all the way to the end, just like I was with Arthur. But they got to put the work in. You don't put the work in, you don't work, I don't work for you. If you put the work in, it works. And, there's no magic pill. And that's how I do things. I call people all the time. I'll pick up the phone and say, oh, okay, this guy or this girl just invested in the program. And I'll pick it up. And if they answer the phone, I'll be like, hey, Mary. I go, hello, is Mary there? Yes, it is. I go, hi, it's DDP. Excuse me? I go, it's Dallas Page. What? I go, Diamond Dallas Page, you just got DDP Yoga. You're calling me? I just hit send. Like, I try to get the last person that just did it whenever I make the time in between everything else. But I mean, I really do call it because I care. And I don't want people to buy it. I mean, don't buy it. If you don't want to put the work in, don't get it. Don't bother.
By the way, my daughter, Caitlin, down 20 pounds from DDP Yoga.
Awesome! Yeah. Awesome! That's
She's
tremendous.
so proud, man. She's on the phone telling me that.
After this, we'll call her.
Oh,
And we'll live broadcast it on our Facebook page. Facebook.com/X-Pac12360 show.
By the way, I love that 12360. That's awesome.
Right, that was a good idea.
I love that.
Well, I won't take full credit for it. Man, Dallas, I gotta be honest, man. When I had a hard time getting through the movie.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Like, I'm having a hard. It's bothered me. Is not the right word.
Affected you.
It's almost like a PTSD deal. Like when I get to a certain part there and I see Scott in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Imagine how hard it was for them to watch. Like, what I really loved that movie I did, for Jake, he never saw anything we filmed.
Oh.
Because who wants to see himself
yourself
like that?
Yeah.
He didn't want to see anything but he just sure as hell didn't want to see any of the shit that it took a bounce, you know?
Well, so he must have just trusted you to not portray him in a way that he wouldn't care for?
When I went to see him the first time with Steve, now you don't know Steve Yu from Adam, and Steve Yu's a genius. I mean, he's one of the smartest guys, you know, top of his class at Cornell, was on the fast track to be a major executive for IBM, and left it 8 years in to follow a dream of doing a movie called Inspire the Movie and inspiring others. That's like who Steve Yu is. And so, but he don't know that. Like, I know that. But Jake, trust me, you gotta remember, without Dusty Rhodes, the late, great American Dream, the Tower of Power, the man of the hour, too sweet to be tower, get funky like a monkey. My brother, man, I loved him like, literally like my brother. Without Dusty Rhodes, there is no, I get choked up on that still.
Yeah, man.
Diamond Dallas Page. But without Jake Snake Roberts, there's no 3-time world champion. He took me under his wing. He taught me shit that no one would have taken the time.
And the things that he taught you, I watched you apply them. I watched you apply them from the first little opportunity they gave you to get in the ring.
Yeah.
The formula.
Yeah.
You knew the formula and you stuck to it and it worked.
I learned from the master. I mean, I really don't think if you go with 100 wrestlers who are guys who made money, who were on top and had, and in the day, if you say who's your top 5 guys, just about everybody's got to have Jake on that list.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to be, you know, just because you got to learn a lot from him. And so I always wanted to pay him back. So when we finally got down there to his house, I told him, I said, Jake, I'm going to tell you right now, I know we're filming this. I know you're tentative about that, but I will never, ever play anything. This movie will never, because I had the name, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, before I got there. It wasn't something that we named later. It was something we named. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine named Moser, who's a big wrestling fan and a good friend of mine. And I was he had seen Jake in really dark spot in San Diego one night. And when I told him what we were doing, he was like, God, Dallas. He goes, that really could be the resurrection of Jake the Snake. And I went like, bing! I said, that's the name of the movie. Like, you've got to see that goal before, I don't care what it is, before it ever happens. And this would have been what would Steve Austin called goal impossible. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, dude, don't do this. Because you can't have, like, he tried to talk me out of it because he didn't want it to, you know, affect my business in a negative way. And I'm like, I'm not, dude, that has nothing to do with that. I want to help my friend.
And like when you, like, it's my experience with you, whenever you set out to do something, I've never seen you fail at it. Like, I mean, I'm not saying you, I'm sure we all have failures in our lives, but I mean, you know, I just, like, you had this vision and we create our own reality, like, and you had this vision and it came true. Out at the other end, couldn't have been any more perfect.
Couldn't have been any better.
Amazing, man.
On my birthday, on my 58th birthday, Scott got inducted and I got to induct Jake.
And we had I made it to your birthday party.
Yeah, we had a good time at my birthday party.
There's a picture of us right there, man. From that night.
Yeah.
From earlier that night.
There, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's for the people at home that are not watching. There's a picture of Dallas, Kevin Nash, and myself from the Hall of Fame. That's one of the few times you'll see me in a tuxedo.
Yeah, all of us. That's when Kev got inducted that night. Yeah,
my birthday
was right
was
before
that. Kev's induction?
That was Kev's induction.
Oh, I thought it was the year before when.
Oh yeah. That was my birthday party when those guys got. Because Kev got inducted just last year. Yeah, so that's what that one is. But the bottom line is that I told Jake, and I said, you don't have to worry about this, dude. You'll never be seen by anybody. The YouTubes will, because that's how. Without the YouTubes, the people never would have known what Jake was going through and how good he was doing. So when he tore his rotator cuff out and didn't have insurance, for years Jake had no insurance. So he couldn't, you know, what's he gonna do? You just don't fix it. Scott too, no insurance.
I have similar things going on where I just don't. A lot of it has to do. I just don't have time to get some things fixed either.
Yeah, but the insurance is pivotal because of just being covered for the big stuff like a surgery, and we did that Indiegogo thing with Jake. And we asked for $9,200. We're asking for money, though. We're going to sign pictures, which were cheaper than you'd get if you had to go and get pictures from us. Phone calls, Skype calls, T-shirts, the movie, every single person. I want to stay with this Jake first. Jake only wanted $9,200. I didn't realize it was going to be $16,000, but we only asked for $92,000. We put it up at 12 o'clock at night, or it's 8 o'clock at night. At 8 o'clock the next morning or something, it was 12 hours. It was $7,000. Oh my God. And that Jake didn't understand what he was looking at until I explained it. And then, man, he just broke down. Like, how could you think that people could care? I don't care about myself. Why should they care about me? And it was so powerful. And the same thing happened for Scott for his hip. And
$85,000 in like about a day and a half or 2 days. A
total of $107,000 before it was all done. Yeah. It was insane. Jake came with like $29,000 because I only asked for $9,000. But again, they wanted the pictures, they wanted the call, they wanted to be a part of it. Every single person that invested in those guys has their name on the end of the credits of the movie. There's thousands of people up there, and my crew made sure every name was up there, which was really, really cool. So the main reason I got this story is because we have to get the okay from Jake before we can go forward. And there's still going to be another 10 edits at least to the movie, but it's get to a point where this is going to be a bulk of the story. And now, my guys are all worried because these guys are working for a year, a little over a year and a half on this thing, maybe 2 at that point. And I told him, I said, if Jake says no one's going to see it. So they all were like, please, I hope he likes it. Yeah. And we walked into his bedroom where I have a TV in everybody's room. And before we start the movie, I said, Jake, there's 2 things you got to promise me. 1, you don't leave. And 2 is you remember what's the most important thing to our business. And he didn't say anything. I said, so what's the most important thing to our business? He goes, the finish. I said, exactly. You got to stay to the end. So we watch you get all the way, and there's points where he's talking to the TV because he can see. He's saying, I only had 2 beers. I only had 4 beers. I only had 3 beers. All right, it's all the same scene. I only had 2 beers. I'm not fucked up. No, I'm not. And he just because when you have to watch that, and if there's any advice I would give someone who's trying to help, their dad or their brother or uncle or whoever, you can't do it in a spot where you're like, look what you did. You can't do that. They got enough shame already.
Shame and guilt. That's what kills them. That's what kills us.
Absolutely. But they need to see the way they're acting. Like, you need to see this person you don't know. You're not this person unless you drink. Some people can drink and not have any effect. It doesn't affect me like that. I'm lucky. And I call it lucky. But when it does do that and it does change you, they need to see. And when Jake saw that really helped him. Really helped him to really focus in on, I don't want to be that guy. And I believe then we go on tour with the movie, and Scott came a bunch of times too, but Jake was there almost all of them. So we had to watch the movie over and over, and it became tough towards the end because his hip was so bad because he needed another new hip, and he kept going. There was points in times where he'd be sitting because he'd be going and doing all the PR and everything we do. His hip is so bad, not the one he just had replaced 7 years ago, the one that needs to be replaced. Yeah. It's so bad. I can see the sweat pouring down his face, and now we're going to go out and do the Q&A. And I'm like, man,
try to put on that Instamatic grin for the people.
He did his best, and he was so good. I mean, it blew my mind. The work ethic that he had, and from there, it was just, once he got that hip replaced, it was things that started to work better. And believe it or not, Jake Roberts today, his opening act is a guy named Alex Ansel. And when Jake started working with him, on his show that he does, his unspoken word tour, he has this comedian who was 520 pounds when he started with him, who's now down 100 pounds. He just started doing the workout. That's just from juicing. Jake and his daughter Cody, who's was like his manager and savior. I could tag off to Cody because I knew he was in great hands, but he's down to 236 pounds. And his buddy is down 100 pounds. They both came to my house right before I came out here to film this movie or this series, but blew my wife's mind. All the guys at work, over at the DDP Yoga Performance Center, blew their minds. Like, here's a guy that is completely different. Now 3 years sober. The fog has lifted. There's no, he doesn't have to be looking over his shoulder. He knows he's doing the right thing. I mean, he got 6 of his 8 kids that he talks to on a regular basis. The other 2, that hasn't happened yet, but I think it will in time, just because he's leading by example.
Right now, right?
Yeah. Say what?
Yeah, we're speaking of Jake right
Talking
now.
about Jake. Talking about Jake, man.
I think that's so cool that that you can see the relationships with the kids start, because I have those same issues as well.
Sure.
And that is one of the things that will keep you in your sickness.
Yeah, but it should be the biggest thing that gets you out.
Absolutely.
To fix that, because your kids love you, and they want to love you. They don't want to not. I know, because I did it with my dad. My dad was an alcoholic too, and I know what he went through, and and my mother still hates him, fucking hates him. Wow. If she ever knew that I helped her from time to time, she'd choke me out. There's still that, but there's no need for that. It's you got to let people off the hook and give him a pass, and then give a chance to prove himself, do the right thing.
Yeah, especially when they're trying.
Right, that's the thing, and there's certain people that were in Jake's life, don't want to name names, but, she would love to see him really, really bad again.
Of course.
And it's just there's no reason for that. And I think it probably, the greatest payback that Jake can give anybody who didn't want to see him doing well is just keep doing well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're trainer, psychiatrist, therapist. How do you know how to do all of this? How do you know how to help people in this way?
I don't know. I really don't. All I know is it's when it comes to working with people in my program, I just can see things and no, let's do this. Let's take this chair, let's spec that out, and move this way, move that way. I don't know. I don't know.
Because you've never really said that any one particular guy was your mentor when it came to motivational type things, like an Anthony Robbins type of guy.
But he is. But he is a guy that, I tell people all the time, you want to see a great documentary.
I'm Not Your Guru.
Yes. Is that the one for Tony, right?
Yes.
I went to that. I did 4 days there at one of his things. You got to remember, I'm a kid who grew up with ADD and dyslexia at a time when no one knew what the hell ADD or dyslexia was. I was reading at a 3rd grade level at the age of 30. So I couldn't back then, in my mind, I thought I was never going to be able to read. And so I would listen, and Tony had these cassette tapes. He had 20 of them. He was 24. I was 28 or 29 at the time. And I listened the hell out of them. And one of the big things I took out of that was if you really want to do something, if you have this goal in life, you need to find someone who's already doing it and take pieces of what they do and make it your own. So for wrestling, for me, it was obviously Jake Roberts, but it was also Randy Savage. It was Kurt Hennig. It was Terry Funk. It was Dusty Rhodes. It was the things that they did, and mainly Jake. I had 80 hours of Jake on tape. Hours from inspiration, from everything. And it's so funny because I'll look at me sometimes and I'll go, God, It's different, but it's so Jake.
What was your favorite Jake era? The WWF stuff, or did you like the Mid-South? Or
I enjoyed watching all of them, but his WWF stuff, like, it was so real. Like, here's what happened with me. Like, I tried wrestling when I'm 22, but it doesn't work out for me. And I always tell people, if it doesn't happen right away, that's not a bad thing. If you fall down a couple times, that's not a bad thing, because maybe it's not time yet. Maybe you weren't ready. Because when I tried at 22, it didn't work out for me. Then I hurt my knee when that happened, and I was in a nightclub business. I was 17. Next thing you know, I've got my first rock and roll bar.
Norma Jeans.
No, this goes back to 23 Valley. This is in Jersey. Wow. So this is like years before that. I'm 22. And I got pulled in by the booze, the broads, and the party, and I didn't come out when wrestling. That's 1978. In 1982, 83 in Jersey, wrestling is going through the roof. 85, I'm so mad. I've stopped watching. Like, I don't want to hear about it, because I know in my soul, if I'd have kept doing it, I'd have been there with those guys. Like, I know it. Like, I feel it. So I won't even watch it. And then one day, flicking the channels. You remember this? Yeah. Actually, flicking the channels.
Which one? The VHF or the UHF?
No, going up and down. You know, just doing change channels. And I come across Gorilla, who's the one who actually gave me. He was in Asbury Park Convention Hall. Me and my buddy Shipley were there, and we ran around the side of Convention Center. You know how it's on the beach and stuff. Hey, Hammer, to Greg the Hammer Valentine, how do we get into wrestling? Fuck off. He swears to this day he never said that. He swears to this day, but he did.
You know he did.
And the last match is Gorilla, and Gorilla is leaving in his leotard, right? Yeah. As the match ends, he comes out of the ring, grabs his bag, goes to the people, and leaves with everybody.
That's great.
So Gorilla, how do we become wrestlers? And we end up getting this guy's name, Tito, wasn't Tito Torres, it was something like that though. And that would be the guy I tried to work with. But here I am, I'm flicking the channels, and there's Gorilla. So Gorilla's always had a special spot in my heart. But he's with Jesse. I've never seen Jesse. Jesse the Body. Oh my, who is this guy? Oh my God, I love his energy. And who's the first guy out of the gate? Jake Roberts. And he's got the bag. And I'm pulled in for the rest. Now I'm back. And I'm watching. And by the time I get to Norma Jeans, and that's when I decided to try to do the managing thing. And
the thing is Norma Jeans is in Fort Myers.
Fort Myers, Florida.
And you're starting in Minnesota for Vern, it seemed like. It was,
but did I ever tell you that story? That's classic, man. I see this Girls Just Want to Have Fun video in my club. I just told the story the other day. And I grab my, the drawers, the cash drawers. I had 12 bartenders on. And as I go to my head bartender, Smokey, give me your drawer. And I'm looking at that. I go, man, you talk to yourself. I go, rock and wrestling. I should have been a part of that. And I walk to the back to count the drawers. We're drinking now. It's the end of the night. Smokey comes in. He's like, hey, Peche, what do you mean rock and wrestling? You should have been a part of that. I said, well, I tried it when I was a kid. He goes, seriously? I go, yeah. He goes, what was your name? Now, I'm a big, handsome Jimmy Valiant fan growing up as a kid.
So I go,
handsome Dallas Page. He went, whoo. You can forget about using that gimmick anymore. Everybody started laughing. And I couldn't get it out of my head, kid. I couldn't get it out of my head. So I'm writing. I get the blotter pad on my desk, and I'm running this big nightclub. Right. And I own a small piece of it. And I say, I'm too old to be a wrestler. What if I was a manager now? What if I was Diamond Dallas Page? Ooh, shot, drink, boom, bang. Then I write a little longer goes by. Jimmy Hart has the Hart Foundation. What if I had the Diamond Exchange? Ooh, shot.
And the Diamond Dolls.
At that point, I go, there's some women in wrestling, but none of them are that hot. Now, Elizabeth was girl next door hot.
Yes, but
I said, what if they were like stripper hot? And I called them the Diamond Dolls, and Smokey's like, oh, that'll be a stretch. Because back then I was Diamond Dolls Page, man. I was having so much fun.
Yes, you were.
And so I write down Diamond Dolls, and now it's the end of the night, and I go, Diamond Dolls Page, the Diamond Exchange, the Diamond Dolls. I go, man, that is B-A-double-D bad. And it just stopped me. I went, did I steal that? Did I just make that up? And I wrote that down. About a week later, they're doing a show called the Party News Network, and it's all from Sarasota to Naples, Florida.
Gotcha.
And they want to they want to come and interview the guy behind the voice. I did all my own radio commercials, and occasionally I might put the boys in there, hot legs, Sure. I might throw much. I could do Jesse Ventura back then to a T. You wouldn't know who the real Jesse was. I had him so down, and I'm being interviewed. They're showing B-roll of me doing the spot in the sound booth like this. I'm wearing a WrestleMania t-shirt. I got the hair, I got the whole look. At some point they end in my office and they say, so where does the voice come from? I look down, it's written all there. There's a pair of white sunglasses. I put them on and I say, the voice comes from Diamond Dallas Page. I was born to be a professional wrestling manager. Then I stopped, I took the glass off, kept talking. Someone saw it. And then a guy asked me to come on his radio show and be Diamond Dallas Page. I was like, dude, I don't really do it. He goes, who cares? It's radio. So I went on and got to be with Captain Lou Albano.
Okay.
Then the next show was with Sergeant Slaughter. And then he says, you should do something with this. I'm like, do what? So he says, I have this friend in the AWA named Rob Russin.
Rob Russin from Sarasota.
Rob Russin.
Yeah.
He used to be a boxing promoter in Florida.
Yeah.
Now he's promoting for the AWA. I'll send the tape to him. I go, what tape? He goes, the one you're going to make. So I take 3 guys who want to be wrestlers and create characters. Big Bad John, Big John, and friggin' Rock Hard Rick, guy shredded.
Oh, I remember Rock Hard Rick.
No, dude, I made this guy's up. I made this up.
Did you actually give that other guy the name?
I might have. I might. You know me. I might have. And Ted E. Bear, he's a midget, and of course the Diamond Dolls. And I bring them on with a guy named Captain Jack. He's a radio guy out of Jersey. The best pipes ever, except for Lee Marshall. I mean, right there with Lee.
Lee Marshall, the Tony the Tiger.
The Tiger, another great, God bless him, another great friend who's gone. But we do this promo for these guys. I send the tape to Russin. 2 weeks later, he calls me back. We want to bring you and your guys in for a tryout.
What guys?
We want to bring you and your guys in for a tryout. But we've got one question for you. I've showed the tape around. They like your shtick. Where have you guys been working? None of those guys can wrestle. What? Why would you send us a tape? I'm like, it's like a secret society. They don't know how to get in. They want to be wrestlers. And like, don't call us, we'll call you. And this is what happened. The guy who's one of the biggest stars in WWE right now. At the time, his name is Paul E. Dangerously. Paulie leaves the AWA and goes to the NWA, which is about to become WCW. And there's a huge void there. So Greg Gagne calls me up. He says, all right, Dallas, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring you in for a tryout. You're going to pay your way out here. We'll put you up and pay you nothing to try out. He said, bring some of all the, dude, back then I wore zebra skin jackets, leopard skin boots. I mean, I was a rock star in my own mind.
Yeah, that was you. That wasn't a gimmick.
That's that, yeah. But that's who I was really.
Yeah.
And I wore all that crazy shit. Sequin skin, sequins. I wore them in Fort Myers, Florida nightclub. Sequin jackets, rhinestone ties. I wore all that shit. And he says, bring all those crazy clothes you have and a couple of those hot girls and we'll give you a tryout. And I went out there, and next thing you know, I'm managing Bad Company.
Wow.
And when I went in the room,
What a team, too. Huh?
What a team, man! At one of my favorite moments ever. Back then, Vern kept babyface on one side, heels on the other, and you didn't talk about the match ever. And so we all meet in a double. You know, the rooms where you got king size or double. All the boys are meeting in this one room. Got to be like 60 of us in there. And Shawn Michaels is laying back on the bed with his head propped up on the pillow. And when Vern introduced me as the manager for Tanaka and Diamond, Shawn goes, "Shouldn't Tanaka be managing Diamond?" And Tanaka's like, "Fuck
Plus, you were like a foot taller than both of them.
Right.
Hey, Dallas, can you stick with us for a second? We're going to take a break just for a minute.
Sure,
we'll be
sure.
right back. We'll be right back on X-Pac 12360.
Hey guys, Maria Menounos here. We want to let you know about my new show on SiriusXM Stars Channel 109. It's called Conversations with Maria, and it's live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Go to conversationswithmaria.com for more info. Buzz you later.
We are back on X-Pac 12360 with Diamond Dallas Page, who was actually telling us a little bit ago about this Jesse Ventura impression. And I didn't want to interrupt you then, but I'm going to ask you to do that for us
really
now.
I have to hear him now. It's been so long since I've done them. God, I can't.
Got to remember that Minnesota accent.
God, I have to hear it. If I hear him, then I can do it. But it's been so long. But back then, like, Jesse was my guy. And I was really, when I first started doing the managing thing, and I just couldn't believe how receptive he was when I first met him. He's how I would treat people when they walk up to me because they're fans or whatever. And he actually came down to Fort Myers, Florida. He was coming there. Well, I met him in Orlando one time he was up there, and then he said, God, I can't believe you're in Fort Myers. He goes, I'm coming to Sanibel Island with my wife. So I actually went out to the island, had dinner with him, and he showed up at the club at Norma Jean's to have cocktails with us. And he was the god back then, He was the man.
Was that like around the time where he started the FCW with Randy Roberts? You remember that name?
Yeah, but that was before him. He was still the man in W. He was done.
Okay.
McMahon, you idiot. I mean, like, he was like...
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Dusty.
No, I was talking about Dusty.
Oh, Jesse showed up to your club.
Jesse Ventura did.
Wow.
Yeah.
With his wife, Terry.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, for Dusty, though, as far as there, I'd sent them a tape while I'm working with Vern, right? And I worked one day a month. So I'm not really learning all that much. So I sent a tape to Michael Graham, the late great Michael Graham. He was awesome too, great guy.
What a great worker too.
Oh God, amazing. And I sent it to Mike, and I had done a show for them. My 62 pink Cadillac broke down on the way from Fort Myers to, it's actually through a rod, to Tampa for Eddie Graham Memorial. Right. And in Venice, it went down. So I still got 90 miles to go. And I ended up getting there. And Mike didn't forget that, Yeah. And so when Dusty left the NWA, because they were becoming WCW, they wanted him to be a heel. And he's like, I'm not doing that. I know who Dusty Rhodes is. And he went to he was coming to Florida to repop the territory with Randy, Mike, the whole
Fred
deal.
Ottman, people know
his
as
son-in-law.
Typhoon.
Yeah. One of the strongest son of bitches I ever met.
He was called Big Steel Man back then, and
Big Steel.
What a monster!
Monster, man. We used to have videos of him pulling my Porsche.
Unbelievable.
Bastard!
And that was the first time I saw Terry Funk come back in shape, working with Dustin Rhodes.
And he came out of I brought him. He came out of the package.
That's right.
Yeah, I brought him on there. I got that footage still. But before that, I've got strep throat. I'm home. I'm in bed. I'm passed out, like trying to get to sleep. Can't sleep because I'm a nightclub guy and it's only 12:30 at night, but I got a 6 o'clock flight, so I'm trying to sleep. And I get a phone call. And back in the day there was answering machines, so I let it go to the answer machine. I hear Mike Graham. Diamond Dallas Page, pick up the phone. It's Michael Graham. I'm sitting here with Dusty Rhodes. We just went through our first case of beer. We just opened up the Crown. I want you on. Mike, hey, how you doing, Mike? He's like, what the hell's the matter with you? I got strep throat. You know, I don't want to hear that. I got Dusty Rhodes here. I want you to put you on the phone with him. I want you to blow him away like he's the biggest mark on the planet. I'm like, Mike, no. I've got strep throat. And show him my videotape I sent you. He said, can't. VCR's broken. Here you go. Dusty gets on the feet. I hear, hello. I go, good God, Dusty Rhodes, the Tower Power, the man of the hour. I went through everything he ever said, Albano ever said. I stole everything from everything and a few of my own things in there. I did about 45 minutes of speed rapping, and I go, that's all I got, Dusty. I got strep throat. Nothing. I don't hear anything. I'm thinking, did he hang up on me? It felt like 5 minutes. It was probably 10 seconds.
Sure.
And then I hear, was that a recording, kid?
No way.
Wow. And I said, no, Dust, that's me. He goes, I like your energy. I'll tell you what. And then he brought me up, and I came up the next week, and Mike Graham's in there, Steve Kearn's in there, Gordon Soley's in there.
That's what I was going to ask you. What was it like working with the Dean of Professional Wrestling, Gordon Soley? My personal favorite ever.
Dude, when I walk in there, I'm looking around like, and I'm Mickey Mark, still at this point. But I know how to be cool, but I'm still a mark, especially for these boys, especially Soley.
Soley, oh my God,
yeah,
I'm sitting here next to Gordon Soley.
But Dusty is one of my guys,
right.
Don't ever really know at that point he's going to become one of the most influential people in the world to me. And so I want him to know, because I know I'm making great money in the nightclub business, and I'm living the dream there. So I'm not going to quit my day job or night job for $200 a week. But I do want to be involved. And I'll do it. I'll come up here and do TVs, and I'll come up and learn whatever I need to learn. But I just wanted to make sure he knew I knew who I was,
Yes.
that type of attitude, but super respectful. And when I get all the way to the end of it, he says, kid, I see a lot of Jesse in you. I see some Captain Lou in you. I actually see a little me in you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you with Gordon. And I interrupt him. I go, Dust, you say you want me to be a color commentator? Yes. And I went, no. I said, no, just don't disrespect. I don't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. And he said, don't worry about it. Gordon's going to walk you through it all.
Oh, yeah.
And he did, man. And I figured sitting next to him, I could just be this power, high energy, guy. But I would listen to him as he would call the matches. And probably a year and a half later, Dusty had left by that time. It didn't make it,
Sure.
Because the only thing that was ever going to last anymore was WCW and WWF at the time. Dusty had been, polka dotted guy up there, and he made that work. Unbelievable. Very, very few people, me included,
Make everything work.
Yeah, but he could.
Yep.
And he got me a tryout. So I went up there. Jesse Ventura's now gone. I know I ain't filling that spot. You know what I mean? But at the time, I figured, what the hell, I'm going to go up there and give it a shot. And Paul Lee and I had started talking at that point. We never met yet, but we knew that, I'm sort of following him in a lot of spots of the new guy who can talk. And he told me they're going to do things like make you grab your ponytail and pull your own ponytail while you're cutting the promo. And he told me the ribs they were going to play on me, which was really nice of him to do. So I go up there and I do all the stuff in front of the green screen. No one knows what green screens are back then.
Oh, you're talking about your tryout for Vince.
For Vince.
Oh yeah,
yes.
they will. They'll
rib the hell out of you.
Definitely rib you. And even make you do all that stuff without even recording it.
Yeah, right. I'll believe it.
I can tell you different. Howard Finkel and Harvey Whippleman thought they were having a WrestleMania match, and they had them in there cutting promos on each other, and they weren't even recording it.
Oh God.
Oh.
But yeah, that's part of the the fun, having fun in the business.
Yeah.
But I now after I do the the openings and wraparounds, I get in the booth and I'm doing with Lord Alfred Hayes. I'm doing the play. I'm doing the color. So as I'm doing the color, no baby, no good God, know this, know that. I'm thinking
You're hearing this in the
in the head in the cans. I'm like, well, that's all my shtick, dude. You're like, take that away. You just want me to talk? So I did it. And then they walk in, Bruce Pritchard walks in, he goes, all right, Diamond, you do play-by-play now. Lord, you do color. And when I got done with that version of that, Lord Alfred Hayes put his hands on the table and pushed himself away. And he said, well, my friend, did you ever learn to do play-by-play like that? That was amazing.
Did he really?
I swear to God. And I said, I've been sitting next to Gordon Soley for the last year and a half. You're bound to learn a thing or two. And that's what I learned, over that period,
Yeah.
And it was funny when I went and had my run, which was all of 6 months in a WWE. When it was time to go, Kevin Dunn had wanted me to come up and do a tryout for play-by-play, not play-by-play, but color. And I did it, because I'm still getting paid. My neck's totally screwed at that time, but I just wanted to be out. I was done. I needed to get out of the business. I needed a break. I needed to change. And Kev called me up and he was like, kid, he goes, I've never said this before, but you are the next, you could be, he said, the next Jesse Ventura. He goes, I think you'll be amazing at this. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, Kev, I'm burnt out on the business.
Plus, I think you're a much better original DDP.
But to me, no matter what, hearing that, no matter what, I got what he was trying to say.
Yeah,
and Jesse's still the best to do it there. And at least play-by-play, I think Jim Ross is the best color, play-by-play guy. We really can do both. But I just didn't want to do it. And you don't say no to those guys. You don't say no. And I said no, and he said, take 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, he called me back, and I still said, no disrespect, but man, I appreciate you. I'm not going to do it. And he was like, okay. And I never heard from him for 5 years.
Wow.
Until I got to do the very best of Nitro deal. And then when I did such a good job on that, got back into good graces of Kevin again, and then got 2 and 3.
And that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Damn right it is.
You have to be in the good graces of Kevin Dunn.
I did not. Believe me, I did not want to say no to Kevin Dunn, but any stretch of the imagination. But I just was burnt. I needed to change up, and my life.
And everything happened how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Because look what's going on now. Look at all the lives you're affecting in a positive way. And it's
pretty cool.
It is. It's so cool, man, and it's so cool for me to see one of my friends being the one doing it, man. It's awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I'm so grateful that I know how spread thin you are, and I always say this, Dallas. Time is the most valuable commodity we have, more than money, anything else. We can't save. Like Jim Croce said, can't put time in a bottle.
Great, I love Jim Croce.
So for you to give us your time, man, thank you so much, bro, and I love you very much.
I love you too, brother. Appreciate you having me down. Bang.
Oh man, before we get out of here, I got 3 quick questions I want
to
ask. Okay, so can we talk about your feud?
Do you know I don't have a quick answer?
Your feud with the Macho Man in '97, and just how it won PWI Best Rivalry that year, and how just great it was working with him, and the honor of I was watching an interview with you and you telling the story of both of you guys in the locker room and Arn coming in and being like, so much, what do you want to do for the finish?
Yeah.
And if you could tell that story and just working with him.
Sure. I didn't get to pick with Randy. I didn't get to pick that.
Right.
Randy.
That's right.
Pick that. There was, I think he was besides Hulk, he really did control his own destiny from A to Z. So, being such a huge fan and literally, again, stealing a lot of stuff from Savage, especially everything he ever did with Liz, I did with Kimberly, and it got me such great heat. It got her so over. When he asked to work with me, because he knew that what was happening with the NWO thing with me and Scott and Kev, like that stuff jettisoned me. So now I was right there. Now, is he going to take it one step further and put me over? Because that's the question. Yeah. But I'm just happy to work with him, as you know. And the Friday night before, we were in Florence, South Carolina, and that's where we're still doing the hockey places. It was just exploding. Like, we would have sold out a 22,000 seat place right then in 10 minutes. But these buildings are booked a year ahead. So we're just in like an 8,000 seater, but it's packed on top of packed on top of packed. And Savage and I are the main event. And we're in the back in the locker room, and it's the Friday before the pay-per-view on Sunday. And every night the NWO is just leaving me laying, or I'm hitting a couple diamond cutters and escaping through the crowd. But every single night, there's no finish, ever. And Arn comes in and he says, so much, what do you want to do tonight? He's putting his boots together. I'll never forget it. He tied him up. He looked up. He goes, I think I want to take the diamond cutter. And he went back down. And man, Arn and I, we went through some heat together. Wow. There's a point where Arn had told me I was never going to be a top guy. And he said it because Savage, Hogan, Flair, Luger, or Sting are never going to put you over because you're not perceived as a top guy. He later would apologize for that, but it's something. I love Arn. I have no negative feelings about anything of anybody, but you still don't forget some of the comments.
And he was making a statement on how things worked around there. Because like, if you got paid more than one guy, you didn't put him over. It seemed like that was how they did things. And
this was going to break that tradition to a certain degree.
Damn sure did.
And Arn just looked at me and he went like, Diamond, I hope you realize what an honor this is. I was like, yeah, I do.
Hope you renegotiated your contract right after that, too.
I didn't, man, because what happened was we go out there for the match, Randy beat the piss out of me that night. And, right at the end, I blew that little comeback, and he stopped me, went to slam me, and went, cutter. And out of the slam, I pulled out the diamond cutter, and the roof blew off. And I just freaking took my time, laid my arm across him, 1, 2, 3, and man, that was the loudest pop.
Oh, you did the old. I gave him my finish. Now I'm going to take my time covering him.
No. I just threw my arm over him like I was dead because he just whooped my ass all over the ring. I was just doing a desperation, throw the arm over him, hope he doesn't kick out. I'm not hooking his leg. And when he didn't kick out, it was so loud in there, but it was like somehow the cone of silence came down. Remember Get Smart?
Sure.
The cone of silence came down, and I could hear Munch go, Will, I guess we know what we're doing for Spring Stampede.
Nice.
And I thought, God, is he ribbing me? Because I knew what that would do for my career.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was an unbelievable run. Anybody who ever asked me who's your favorite guy to work with, of course it's going to be him. My biggest honor was when you think of how many people Randy Savage has worked with. And
how many people he's actually put over.
but also in the fact that angles. Every single person had angle. Savage, I mean, you take Hogan, they had the what was it when they were called not dynamic
Mega Powers.
Mega Powers, and they had the angle with Liz. They had 2 of the top 5 angles that the WWE put up there for Savage when he passed. Of course, 2 were that. The other one was Jake. Can't remember who the 4th one was, and the other one's me.
Wow.
So when I got to be up there with Jake, with Savage, on top 5, who's worked top with everybody, it was really cool. And to be the feud of the year, and who was in number 2 that year, a pretty damn good feud. Bret Hart and Steve Austin. You know,
Oh, yeah.
just to have that little notch up there, it was pretty cool, man. It was a dream come true for me, you know.
So you were doing the diamond cutter out of nowhere way before the RKO was even a thing. So you were so innovative with the diamond cutter, you would hit it from like the Death Valley position or pop people up into it, that you were giving other people new finishing moves from that. How did you feel about that when you would do it from like the DVD position, and then the next week on Raw, Mark Mero was like, "Oh, this is the TKO. It's my new finisher." It's like, no, that's just a variation of the diamond cutter.
Well, Mark, who's one of my very best friends, had actually called me and asked me.
Okay.
He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "God, no, bro, take it." You know, but I remember one time, because Bubba used to do it out of he'd shoot the guy in and...
sidewalk slam thing?
No, not sidewalk. He used to take him when he'd go through the leapfrog thing, and he'd push him up into the air and then catch him and pull him down. When I did that, when I went right to the hard carry one, thanks, Bubba, love it. You know, and then Spike would do the run through the air one up the turnbuckle, turn and hit it. Yeah, to me, you know, the people who watched over that time, like, no, like I had my biggest compliment maybe ever is Jake calling me January 1997. And all he said, I hadn't talked to Jake in probably close to a year over that time. And he called me up. He said one word. He said, "Congratulations." I said, "Jake?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What'd you say?" He said, "Congratulations." I said, "For what?" He said, "Reinventing the DDT."
And
that's pretty strong.
I was about to say, like, there's not many moves that have been copied as much as a DDT, and probably the cutter is right up there.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. Like, I called Randy Orton and he didn't remember this. We talked about it much later, but I called him, and he just got out. I would find out later he had just got out of shoulder surgery around that time. I remember he was hurt. Yeah. But I wanted him, when he came back, to use the cutter, because I love Orton's work. You know, I think
I'm a huge fan.
As believable as it can be. And, you know, he's promos. I mean, the guy, to me, he's the guy. And I wanted him to carry it on, because I knew that, first of all, he would take it to a different spot. I seen the one that him and Zig did, literally out of the power bomb, where he threw him up. Ziggler's another crazy, amazing friggin' technician, unbelievable. I still don't understand why they don't push him through the roof, because the guy's got the look, he can talk, and he can work.
I smell money.
What?
I smell money.
I don't understand him. I don't know where he's got heat, but I mean, he's not a guy to get someone else over. Another guy I love a lot is Bray. I mean, to me, he'd beat Undertaker. You know, if I was booking, and he'd be undefeated, and we'd go for another 15 or 20 years with him at Mania. And I don't understand why he's not getting a monster push. And I only watch occasionally, but I know talent. And those two guys, well, those three guys, are ridiculously talented through all different levels of it. But I forgot where the hell I was at.
There's a ton. There's several guys coming up right now that to me, are the new guys that
who are you thinking of right now?
Well, I mean, a lot of. See, I'm huge on Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
Huge on him. And Scott and I have talked about this. We think he could be the first guy that's like the man that's not, from the States, or from an American speaker.
Right.
His charisma just
it's pretty
so
amazing. And everybody loves him too, man.
God.
I go crazy. I watched some of the NXT stuff that was down there, because I try to catch that occasionally too. And my phone, I just turned off. Sorry about that. Phone on there. When I watch the people down there react, like that's where you really see the beginning of superstars there, because they're not just going to bring you out there because your entrants and love you. Yes. They're going to be. They're going to be looking for you to screw up, because I think they'd be pretty critical down there. They're real fans.
And that's another thing. God, Hunter's doing such an amazing job with that.
Amazing job.
I mean, it's, to me, for my taste, it's right up there on par with the other two brands. It should be, for me, it should be right up there with them.
Well, you know,
it's phenomenal.
you never know. It could be, you know, it could become the brand.
Do you know they operate that separately, and it turns a profit on its own, and like it's not subsidized.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So that's amazing about that.
Especially when it's all the guys coming out of there, and you're gonna, when I remember when I was first up there, when I was telling them that, listen, I'm not telling you Jake's gonna turn his whole life around, but he's staying with me right now, and he's there's a chance that this could turn into something. And I said, so let's and when I was there talking about that, I was also talking about I wanted to get together with his guys and start working with some of his young guys, and he told me about the PC then. I guess it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and what he wanted to do with it. And I think that's the future where everything's coming from. Everybody sees that, but people say, "Oh, it's not what it used to be." I go, "Yeah, give it some time. It's
nothing
cyclical.
is what it used to be.
But everything's cyclical.
Yes.
It's up and down, and eventually they're going to hit some stride. It's just going to go.
Things and things evolve. I mean, we evolve as species. I mean, there's so many. It's like, it's great to look back and go, yeah, those days were great. Oh, it's not like it used to be. No, you're right.
Nothing
it's not. But it doesn't mean it can't be great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and Mick Foley always ends his comedy tours telling this story about putting cookies in your bed. So I'd love to hear your side of this story.
The whole cookie story, it's been told to death. Mick's is, semi on the money. I love that he used his comedy act and would put different people in the DDP spot.
Okay.
Yeah, he would put he had this one girl who was she used to be a writer for WWE, and she put on the blonde wig, and she'd wear like cream color because she's supposed to be naked, and I completely forgot. Back then, to help my knees, I would put DMSO, which they put on
remember
horses.
that? Yeah, of course.
But you can't put it.
You could taste the garlic taste in your mouth after you put that stuff on.
But you couldn't put something on it that, like on your covers, because whatever it is, it's sucked into your body, into your pores. So you had to put saran wrap around it, and you hear the and I completely forgot that part of the story. And you have to understand what the cookie story is to Mick Foley. Mick Foley, I used to tell him all the time when we were on the road, Mick, and my wife hears him today, because we're about to put a video out of Mick and his journey with DDP Yoga, and because it's pretty amazing. And it took 5 different times for me to start with him, and the last time I didn't even start with him. Like, he started on his own. But she was listening to it, and she goes, "Oh my God." And she knows him, because he spent time at my house. He goes, "He is such an intelligent guy." I'm like, I used to tell him that all the time. He was so tight with his money, like the tightest, tighter than Austin, tighter than anybody. But he's saving his money because wrestling's all he's going to be able to do. And I'm like, Mick, are you out of your mind? You're one of the smartest guys I know. You can do anything you put your mind to. And I mean, I would beat that into him. And then we interview him for my book, Positively Page. And when we did that, of course, the cookie story is going to come up. And I wrote it like me speaking, the biographer is going to speak, I speak, and then I would let the boys tell the story. Because it's their version. Because there's always my version, your version, and what really happened. But I wanted it to be their version. And after that interview with Smokey, he got on a plane, Mick, and he's flying to Germany. And he thought, he's writing his own book. Dallas Page is writing his own book. I've got to write mine. And he had the long ledger pad.
It was the yellow legal pad.
And he wrote his first 3 books on that.
I watched him write the first one on the airplane ride back from Europe because he hated the fact that he hated the job the ghostwriter was doing.
Well, that's what he did, putting the pen to paper.
That's right.
When he got his child's book, he was at my house in Atlanta years ago, and he said, "I want to thank you for, putting that in my brain, but also interviewing me for that, Cookie Story, because I don't know if it would have clicked off the way it did, because his book was all of his books have been incredibly successful. He's a great writer. He's a great storyteller. He's a great comic at this point. Now he's just taking downtime from that, and he's got that great gig with Holy Foley and the whole deal. But mix who you think he is.
Yes.
He's that guy. He is that guy.
I've said this before about Mick, and not just in wrestling, but I can't say as I've met a better human being.
Yeah, he's
on the planet.
He's a good man.
And that just sounds like blowing smoke, but I mean, really, it's really 100% true. It's not really. There's no gimmick there.
No, and I'll leave you with this. We were doing an autograph session for Comic-Con together. It's the only time we've ever really done it, but it was like about 4 weeks ago, and I was sitting in the lobby watching some game that was on in this sweet hotel that's on the ocean in Miami, and Mick came rolling in, and he sat down next to me. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "I got to thank you, man." I go, "Thank me for what?" He goes, "I had some friends here tonight, and they wanted to go to dinner. And we got outside the hotel, and they said, well, the place we want to go to, blah, blah, it's like 6 blocks away. Do you want to take a cab?" He said, "No, I think I want to walk." He goes, "I just walked to the restaurant, 6 blocks. He goes, and then I just walked back 6 blocks. He goes, "Thanks for not giving up on me."
Nice.
Because I never would have been able to do that. And that is like, I was like, awesome, dude.
Wow.
Really cool.
That's amazing.
So when and where are we going to see the video of his journey with DDP Yoga?
Actually, it'll be up this week. My guy just sent it to me. Like I always want to make sure that the little salt and pepper has been added, that when someone's telling an important part, that there's no B-roll. I mean, I want to see them talk like that. And we show, man, some of the bumps that Mick, like, oh my God, because it's a fraction of what Mick's done to himself. A fraction. I mean, we would be on the road on back when Bill Watts came in. He took away the mats around the ring.
That's right.
And Mick would do a running elbow off the apron down on the guy on the cement floor and take 85% of the bump.
Every night.
Every night. He'd take the pain, didn't put it on you to be his crash pad. And I go, "Mick, what are you doing? There's 200 people here." "I know, but they paid their hard-earned money." I go, "Yeah, but that's like a pay-per-view thing. Like, not here, house show, 200 people." And like, we just show a blip of the abuse that Mick's gone through. And one of the things I'll tell you, that as you get beat up and you get older, you shrink. And Mick used to be 6'4". And his last time he measured himself was about a year and a half ago, or somewhere around there, and he was 6'1¼
Wow.
And then he just measured himself at the dock, I think it was like last month, and he's 6'3" again. Because when your spine's doing this, think about it, look how much height you get when you can do this. But when you can't do past here, that's how tall you are.
Yes.
Until you can do this, like he's created scoliosis in his spine. Some people are born with it. He created it by all the abuse. But it's going to be interesting to see another year or two from now. We check him again to see if it's straightened out a little bit more. But again, it's helped him.
Just being able to stand with proper posture just projects better. I mean, you
absolutely.
just project so much more confidence, and and I mean, it feels better. It opens everything up in your body, like to flow better. I mean, I don't have to tell you, a million times more than I do about this stuff.
Just when I see my buddies, and someone like AJ, on top of the world, and he came to me at the DDP Yoga Performance Center, they just sent him home from Japan because he was hurt.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then, I just helped him, and I hope that he really understands that because that helped him help heal him. I hope he's being consistent. because if he just keeps doing it, the odds of him getting hurt are way less. Like I'm wearing this Virginia t-shirt today. He's like, how do y'all wear a DDP yoga shirt? I mean, I always wear them. But my boys, even though they're 0-3, they just got Coach Bronco Mendenhall there. And these guys have been doing my program since spring ball last year, since Bronco left Utah and BYU and came over there. He picked up a program that was at the the bottom of the spot right now. But these kids got a lot of heart. They got a lot of drive. They've been doing my program over spring ball. They had one injury. Again, preventative maintenance. I haven't got an update to where they are right now, but it just helps preventing stuff, especially when you do.
What about when guys are still doing heavy resistance training, weight training, and they want to add the
it's
DDP
just an ad.
yoga?
It's an ad. It's
just
like
add it on.
No more cardio. Here's your cardio.
Gotcha.
You don't need it. And if you're doing it 3 days a week, like most of the guys get on that treadmill, like Ric Flair would get on for an hour plus.
Yes.
Like for me, I was always like 40, 45 minutes. Once I started doing this, no more cardio. This became all my cardio. I still lifted weights because I wanted to keep that size. Now I want to be 225. I don't want to be 255. That's a job. I want to be 225, mean and lean, 60 on my way to 70, 70 on my way to 80. I'm still going to have that foot over my head.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we really are going to let you get out of here this time, Dallas. But tell all the people where to check out DDP Yoga.
Okay, well, for starters, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at @RealDDP, at DDP Yoga. I'm on it all the time. If you're doing the program, I'd love to hear what you're doing, what's happening with it. As far as Facebook, Diamond Dallas Page Athlete, you'll be able to see it there. I put up stuff all the time. But DDP Yoga, one word, DDP Yoga, Facebook is my team program there. And there's like 11,000 people on there. Like, don't listen to anything I have to say about my program. Go on there, hit that like button, see that community that helps each other. They're very like-minded. Follow that, and then you'll see, like, what I'm saying, like they're saying, because they're doing it and living it, and they help each other. And that's really what it's all about. I'm a firm believer of a quote I once heard Zig Ziglar say, and he said, you can get, let's focus on that, you can get whatever you want as long as you help enough people get what they want.
Love
Bang.
Love that.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Oh, well, let's go out on that note exactly.
You got to give it away to keep it, right?
Bang. Absolutely, brother.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and we will be right back. Stay tuned.
What's up, party people? Roxy Stryer here from The Tomorrow Show with Kevin Undergaro. We're your twice-weekly broadcast of one man's midlife crisis and the mad millennials in Star Trek uniforms that follow him.
And I'm one of those millennials, Lauren Magrasso here. We've had some amazing guests like Russell Simmons, Ileana Douglas, and Craig Gass. Coolio, right?
Christian Blatt in the house to tell you to go to thetomorrowshow.com to check us out. We're live every Monday and Thursday from 10 to midnight Eastern. That's thetomorrowshow.com. Be there or be square, whatever that means.
Time for some final thoughts here on X-Pac 12360. Man, Diamond Dallas Page did not disappoint.
He never does. Plus, he's one of my dear friends. And
DDP
so,
BFF?
Of course. So he's going to come in here and like I said, I wasn't kidding when I said this guy was spreading himself so thin just to be here today. So. And then he would, if we would have kept talking for another hour, he'd be here for another hour.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just love to hear from his point of view, his passion for helping people. We all saw the documentary. We've heard he's helped 50 wrestlers and millions of other people. But he's doing that, seriously, just because he wants to. Just because he feels like that's his destiny.
It feels good to make people feel good.
Yeah, I gotta really respect that.
Yeah, and also I want to thank Jason King from Bleacher Report for stepping into the hot seat.
You got the hot call today.
Yeah, he was great, and thanks to Bleacher Report themselves for the apology. Apology accepted. I forgive you.
All right, it's all good. It's all good over here. Well, Well, we want to thank you guys all for coming and hanging out with us today. You can always keep up with us on Facebook, facebook.com/X-Pac12360 show. All the links for our past episodes, some cool pictures and videos. We are on Instagram as well at X-Pac12360. Make sure you follow us. You never want to miss who our next guest is going to be, what we're up to during the rest of the week. And you guys can always follow me at Christy Reports. Tweet me, send me Instagram videos. You know I always have the juicy news scoop for you. So I appreciate that. And Sean, where can they follow you?
Well, they can follow me at The Real X-Pac on Twitter, and I think it's just I think it's Real X-Pac on Instagram.
You know what? I'm going to check that out.
Yeah,
because I got to tag you, so.
Yeah. So, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you next week right here on X-Pac 12360 on the AfterBuzz TV network.
Ooh.
Yeah.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Phil Svitek, Kevin Undergaro, producer Jimbo Frank, me, Christy Olson, the managing editor of AfterBuzz TV's Pro Wrestling News Division, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Feel free to like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube, follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXpac, and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com. This has been a presentation of the AfterBuzz TV Network. Buzz you later.